Investing in your Roth IRA is a great way to create tax-free income for your retirement. Now, if you have some great ETFs that can build and make this a wealth building machine, it's going to be amazing. But if you invest in some other ETFs, you could lose out on thousands or even millions of dollars in potential tax-free income for your retirement. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 4 great ETFs to put in your Roth IRA to make it a wealth building machine. And at the end of the video, we're going to talk about a couple ETFs that you may not want to put in that Roth IRA. So stick to the end to find out which ETFs you may want to avoid. All right. Hey guys, my name is Steve, and I run the Frugal Expat website where we try to help people to save more and invest better. And if you like this content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so I can continue to create great content to help you do better. All right. Let's get to it. What is a Roth IRA? Now, a Roth IRA is an individual retirement account that you put money in that has already been taxed. So when you pull that money out, it is tax-free. Now, what does that mean? It means that, let's say you have everything growing and growing and growing, and when you hit that retirement age, then you can start pulling out and withdrawing money. That's tax-free. Dividends grow, capital gains go crazy. You take that money out, tax-free. You sell an investment within your Roth IRA, there are no taxes incurred on that. So everything you put in is already taxed. Everything you pull out is tax-free. That is an amazing way to kind of fund your retirement. Think about this. You need money, you don't have to pay taxes. That's great for retirees. Now, today we're going to be talking about, like I said, some great ETFs to put in that IRA. Now, we want to make this IRA so fat, so big, so you don't even have to worry about your retirement. Like Rob Berger said in one of his YouTube videos, he wants to have a Roth IRA that is fat as a tick. So what we're talking about today is some great ETFs to make that Roth IRA as fat as a tick. All right, let's get to it. Now, our first ETFs are going to be growth ETFs. Some of my favorites are going to be QQQ, SCHG, and VGT. Now, the reason I like these ETFs is because, like I said, they are growth ETFs. They are going to grow huge within this Roth IRA. Now, if it's in like maybe a traditional IRA, and when you pull that out, it's going to have some huge capital gains. That means taxes. We don't want those taxes. We want these to be growing in our Roth IRA. And that means we want to grow our Roth IRA to be, like I said, as a tick. And so we're going to have these great ETFs. Now, these ETFs have some of the best performances on the market. It's got some low cost, like SCHG is about 0.4% expense ratio, which means it costs about $4 for every $10,000 invested. QQQ, 0.20%, and VGT is 0.09%. So these are low cost. They're costing anywhere between $4, $9, or even $20 for every $10,000 invested. And what you get out of that is you have a performance that ranges between 16 to 20% over the last 10 years. SCHG has done about 16.4%, QQQ has done around 17%, and VGT has done about 20%. So these are some great numbers if you want to grow your Roth IRA to be the max and to be the biggest it can be. And they've been around for a long time, and so you know they are stable. And when things go up, these ETFs will continue to go up and compound for the future. So that's why I like to add these to my Roth IRA, and that's why maybe you should look at them too. All right, our next one's going to be a total market ETF. That means it's got the entire US market. These ETFs are going to be like VTI or even SCHB. Now, VTI is a Vanguard Total Market Index Fund, and SCHB is the Schwab Total Market Index Fund ETF. Now, these two ETFs are a little bit different. They track different indexes, but the good thing is they hold a lot of stocks that are on the US market. Now, if you want something that is good, that's holding everything, and you just don't know where to go, and you need at least a win or two, well, these ETFs can help you out. They create a great core to your portfolio, and it doesn't have very high dividends, and it's got a good amount of growth into it. I mean, you're talking about anywhere between 25 to 33% in the large cap growth industry and in those tech companies. That means these are going to grow, and these are going to grow greatly within your portfolio. Now, these aren't those ETFs that you may see that have like large dividends and like lackluster growth. These are the ones that are going up and down with the market, and that's good news for you because you want something that grows over the long term. And these ETFs, if you believe in the US stock market, then these ETFs are some great ones to hold in your portfolio. Right now, personally, I own like VTI, and that is just a great ETF that I like to hold in my portfolio because it goes up and down with the market, but over the long term, it's done pretty well because I believe in the US stock market. All right, let's get down to our next ETF. Now, our next ETF is a lot like the total stock market ETF. And this is an S&P 500 ETF. Now, my two ETFs we're going to be talking about here are going to be VOO and SPLG. Now, VOO is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and SPLG is the Spider S&P 500 ETF. Now, these are two great S&P 500 ETFs that track the S&P 500. The S&P 500 index holds the top 500 companies on the US stock market. Now, if you like some of these stocks like the Mag 7, we're talking about Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta. We're talking about the Mag 7. These are some of the top companies in the US. Now, these have a high concentration in the Mag 7 in the top 10 because, it's got 500 companies. Now, unlike the total stock market index, we're holding more percentage within the top companies on the US stock exchange. So that means if the market goes up a little bit higher, this is going to go higher than that total stock market ETF. Like I said, we want growth. We want to make this Roth IRA so fat that we just kind of live off of it and live tax-free within our retirement. And the S&P 500 ETFs are a perfect way to do this. Now, they do have low cost. Both of these are very low cost, with VOO being 0.03% an expense ratio. SPLG, on the other hand, is 0.02%, so it's just a little bit cheaper. Now, this costs about $2 to $3 for every $10,000 invested. That means you're putting more money into these and reaping the rewards. That's good news for all of us, right? Right? I think so. All right, let's get on to our last one. Now, our last one is going to be a small cap ETF like AVUV or VBR. Now, AVUV is the Advantage Small Cap Value ETF, and VBR is the Vanguard Small Cap Value ETF. Now, these are two different ETFs. The Vanguard one is more passively managed, while AVUV is more professionally managed. Now, the reason I like these ETFs is because we're looking for growth. Now, we have our large cap as in VOO or even VTI. We have our growth ETFs with QQQ, SCHG, and VGT, and those are predominantly managed by large cap industry. So the small cap, you may be wondering, why would I have a small cap? Historically, small caps have outperformed large caps in the history. If you look at the numbers between 1927 and 2023, you'll see that small caps have done way better. In that time period, they have averaged annually 13.1%, while large caps have averaged 10.1%. Now, if we look at recent performance of the large caps versus small caps, you'll see, large caps are winning. Yeah, between 2010 and 2023, you'll see that large caps are doing much better. Large caps are averaging about 12.5%, while small caps are doing about 10.8% in that time period. Now, if you look at the lost decade of 2000 to 2009, you'll see that small caps dominated in that decade, while large caps did quite poorly. Small caps in that time period averaged about 12.3% yearly, while large caps averaged about negative 0.9%. That is huge. If you are looking for a possibility of having something that's going to grow and grow over the long term and you want to stick it into your Roth IRA, a small cap ETF is a great one to put in there. AVUV has actually dominated against the S&P 500 over the last 5 years. Annually, it's been around since about September of 2019, so it hasn't been around that long, but it's a great small cap ETF that kind of gives you some of those value companies to surpass the large caps. So if you want to grow your portfolio in your Roth IRA, a small cap ETF is a great addition to this portfolio. Now, AVUV does have an expense ratio of 0.25%, and VBR has an expense ratio of 0.07%. VBR is a lot cheaper. AVUV has got a better performance. So you pick and choose which one you want to take. I like AVUV, but VBR is a great small cap ETF to hold in your portfolio. Now, those are just 4 different great ETFs to put in your Roth IRA. Now, I also talked about that there would be some ETFs that maybe you would want to avoid. First of all, we're going to talk about is dividend ETFs. Great dividend ETFs like SCHD and DGRO are great because they have blue chip stocks They got great dividend yields, and they perform pretty good over the long run. But here's the thing is, we're looking for growth. We're looking for not just dividend growth where it gives us income and income. We're looking for growth in capital appreciation. We want to make our Roth IRA, like I said, as fat as a tick. So that's huge, huge. But what these things are doing is they are creating stability. I mean, they're gonna kind of trug along, give us great dividends, give us some great performance compared to other dividend ETFs, but they have blue chip stocks. They don't have those growth companies. They have companies that are reinvesting their dividends, but giving out their profits to their shareholders. Now, growth companies are reinvesting their profits right back into their companies and growing their companies more and more for the long run. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these dividend ETFs more in a traditional IRA, where the growth isn't going to really be capitalized, but the dividends may be taxed on the way out, so it's just not going to be as efficient putting in the Roth IRA. Another one is going to be REITs. Now, REITs are real estate investment trusts. These are ETFs that are going to hold different companies that own real estate. Now, we think about O as one of the famous real estate investment trusts. We think of some other ones out there that own malls, own properties. What these do is they pay you monthly dividends, but they don't grow very much. And so we're going to put those, like I said, in a traditional IRA where they can continue to put dividends in there, but they're just not going to grow in capital appreciation. Like I said, with Roth IRAs, we want to make this fat as a tick. Now, our next one's going to be bond ETFs. Now we're looking at Vanguard's BND, we're looking at Vanguard's VGLT, or even ITIT. Now these are just different bond ETFs. And so what they're going to do is they're going to have stable income. They're going to have interest from maybe bonds that they sold, maybe it's got treasuries like VGLT, it's got long-term treasuries. And so they're creating stable income. So when we're getting close to retirement, yeah, stable income's great. But when we're trying to build our Roth IRA to be huge, to be a wealth building machine, we don't need stable income now. So we want to put those more in a traditional IRA. We're going to put those in maybe a taxable account if we need to. And we're just going to put those someplace that's not going to be in our tax-free withdrawal wealth building machine. So Roth IRA, like I said, is a wealth building machine where you want to grow it as big as possible. So we're going to look at growth ETFs. We're going to look at a total market ETF. We're going to look at an S&P 500 or even a small cap ETF that's going to grow it to be as big as possible. Dividend ETFs create stability. Bond ETFs, stable income. REITs give us income. So we're going to put those more in a traditional IRA. So let me know in the comments, what ETFs are you adding to your Roth IRA? And if you like this content, make sure to subscribe to it. And I'm going to leave a link to a great 3-fund portfolio. All right, until next time, I'll catch you later.